Hey folks, Emil from Koalati here. Today we're going to do something a little special. Last time we did a website audit of Copy AI's new website. Today we're just going to go ahead and check out Product Hunt and see what's up. So let's take a look at these new websites here, new projects. Let's just go with the first one. Automate workflows for repetitive customer-facing tasks. Let's go ahead and give Beau 2.0 a website audit right now. All right, so that took a little while, but things seem to have loaded pretty quickly. Beau 2.0 is featured on Product Hunt today. That's good. So let's take a look at this. Easy onboarding, step by step. Build, visualize, automate your customer-facing processes, all with one easy-to-use solution. Get a demo. So right away, one thing I do see is this cookie banner here. It fits with the design, so that's good. Let's just go ahead and accept and close. 5 key solution challenges, 1 solution, collect forms, accept payments, keep updated. Easy onboarding, step by step. Automate your customer-facing processes. Wait, so what kind of onboarding is this? Because it says accept payments, keep updated, like client onboarding if you're a freelancer or a business, I guess. Perhaps. Yeah, that seems to be it. So build your process, share a link, see how it works. Oh, these page transitions are really nice, actually. So I'm kind of just going through the website really quickly right now and yeah, these page transitions are really smooth. I'm really liking these. The design itself is looking pretty fantastic, I have to say. Well, backed by Y Combinator, so that's always a good sign. All right, so right off the bat, nothing obvious is jumping at me, except perhaps the contrast on this text here. Pretty sure even Chrome can tell you that this is bad. Oh, no, you can't. All right. Well, this part I'm not liking as much. There's very little space. Let me close that banner right here. Close that banner. See, there's very little space here. I don't understand. I guess it's to get the CTA in your face a little bit more while you're browsing these use cases, but if you're browsing really quickly, it's kind of confusing. But it does look good, so let's see how it looks on mobile. Oh, it's just a different experience. There's none of that scrolling stickiness. But that's pretty good, I guess. Yeah, if I had a smaller screen, I think we're going to see that later when we're going to be browser testing, but I think there's something to be improved here. Ooh, these squigglies are really nice as well. Very simple link animation, but it's looking good. Or is it that simple, actually? Because it kind of stops when you stop hovering. Well, this is looking good either way. All right, so first off, nothing crazy obvious. Let's go ahead and sign into Koalati right here. Create a project. I'm going to go ahead and copy that URL. Beau, https beau.to. First time I see that extension, by the way. And as I said last time, I'm going to start with the recommendations here just to get them going. Just doing that is going to start the process of analyzing the website and fetching every page and stuff. So once that's started, I can just go ahead and get started with the quality control checklist. Checklist in Koalati is a quality control checklist with different sections, different steps, where you get detailed information on every step on how you can do it or what you should be looking for. So for example, for browser testing on Firefox, it's going to tell you, You should all look at every page in Firefox, ideally at multiple desktop different resolutions. Make sure everything works as intended. And there's a few resources to help. So can I use to know some features are available or not on Firefox? You can go ahead and check out the statistics on browser usage, both of these actually. And then browser stack, if you want to be testing on different browsers or different devices easily, browser stack I think is definitely the way to go. And that's going to be like the type of thing you can get on every different element here. So let's go ahead and see, I don't know, search feature provides appropriate suggestions and results. Right, there's some articles from the Nielsen Norman group to tell you, like, if you really want to go in depth about it, there's also a short summary of what you should be looking for in testing. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. Every page loads correctly and in a reasonable amount of time. For this video, as I did with the last one, we're not going to go through every single page for every one of these tests. But if you're doing quality control for yourself or for your agency or client's website, whatever, you should really go ahead and test every single page to see if everything works correctly. Because sometimes there's something that's going to work almost everywhere, and then on this one specific page where there's a different class or anything like that, it's going to look weird or it'd be broken. So I'm just going to go quickly through these. This is an external link. I'd kind of like some kind of indicator that this is an external link, to be honest, for Help Center and careers. Oh, that's interesting. So we can actually get a demo right here. Good. So yeah, just very quickly, like every page loads correctly, reasonable amount of time. That's absolutely the case. Purpose of the website is immediately clear when opening the web page, the home page, I mean. Easy onboarding, step by step. Visualize, automate your customer-facing processes. Wasn't immediately obvious to me because onboarding, there's many different types of onboarding. I guess it makes sense from like if you're Googling for some like client onboarding and you like find a link to Beau, you're gonna know that this is what it's built for. In my context, I'm just on Product Hunt. I came on here not knowing what type of onboarding this was going to be about. And I'm thinking this could be like a SaaS product onboarding. It could be an employee onboarding. It could be client onboarding. And all of these have different, like, they're very different from one another. So you probably, it could be a tiny bit clearer, I think. But yeah. So let's go ahead and add a comment here for this one. It's clear that it's a tool to help with onboarding, but it's not clear which type of onboarding it's about unless you come from a Google search with more info about the context. For example, this could be a SaaS product onboarding or a employee onboarding tool, customer onboarding, etc. Let's go ahead and add this so we have an idea of what type of issue we've noticed here. This is going to be marked as unresolved here until someone goes ahead and fixes it and then marks it as resolved. Let's keep going. The website has a 5 icon that matches the brand. I mean, we know it right there. It has a 5 icon. Let's go ahead and check out different pages just to see if it's, yeah, it's going to be loading on every page. Even if I clear the cache, yep, it's all good. The 404 error page matches your brand and contains links to the website. So let's go ahead and try a random page here. The page could not be found. Back to the home page. Chat link, which is good. And then the navigation, there's the Nuxt link here. So I guess this is a Nuxt.js website. Not sure this should be here. I think this should probably be removed, and perhaps the error page could be customized to be more like user friendly and more well designed. Every single page on the website seems to be so well designed. I think there's some love that could be added here. Maybe just an illustration or using the right font or something. So let's go ahead, not and type here, not super customize. Let's go ahead and make this a list as the default. I guess that's the default Nuxt.js link. But it's functional. Let's go ahead and write that here. All right, so that's it for the basics for now. Let's go ahead and dive down into the navigation. The logo and header links to the home page. Yep, that seems to be the case. Let's test out a few different pages. That's an external page. Once again, I forgot. Yeah, this is doing good. Good. So this is working as expected. Every link in the navigation works as intended. I think we've tried that already. One thing I could say that's it's not really about navigation, but I think it could be noted here as well. I think I would like some kind of indicator that this is going to be an external link here, Help Center and Careers, because it's opening in a new tab. It's a different website. If I opened a few tabs at once, I could be kind of lost as to what this is. It's a completely different design. Not super clear. There's not a lot of stuff. There's not a lot of stuff here in the Help Center. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this here. Every link in the main nav works, but external links could be improved by adding some sort of indicator that they're external. Good. Drop-down menus and mega menus work as intended. I'm just going to go ahead and mark this as done, actually, because this is working. It's functional. It's just, it could be improved. This is more of a feature or minor improvement than a bug itself, so I'm just going to consider it to be done. Drop-down menus and mega menus work as intended. We've tried this before. It's working good. Let me just go ahead and see in the footer if there's anything. Yeah, everything looks good in the footer as well. If I'm just browsing through these things quickly. Yeah, everything looks pretty good. Good. The menu opens navigation when it is clicked tab menu button. So it's not super clear what this is right here, right? So if you look here at the description, menu button is often available on mobile versions of websites to give users access to the navigation. So let's go ahead and check it out. Yep, this is looking fine. It's not super well animated, but it's working. Yeah, it's working just fine here. So let's go ahead and mark this as completed as well. The search feature provides appropriate results or suggestions. In this case, there's no search bar anywhere that I've seen. Is there a blog? Perhaps in templates? There's a thing here, but I don't think there's just 3 templates here. So it's not going to be a huge search experience. Oh wait, there's actually a few more. Agency onboarding, hiring process. If I go into all, is there going to be more stuff? And okay, so I think I have featured ones, and then this is the regular display. That's interesting. So there's 4 actually total right now. So let's go ahead and type hiring. That's good. Process. Let's try it with this startup tax. Yeah, so in this case, it's not a big deal because I mean there's very few items here, and I know it right away, like what I'm looking for, or what's available. But still, there's one issue that could appear here if you get to have more templates where your search is kind of, it looks for the entire string, right? Startup tax. But users are not always going to know which order you put the words, or if there's words in between or anything like that, or how you spell everything. So in this case, it's startup C Corp tax. So if I was to write startup C Corp tax, it would work. But you kind of want it to work when I just write startup tax, right? Because if there's many items and I didn't see it right away, and I need to search for it, I'm probably just going to go ahead and type tax, or like tax return or startup tax. And if I write startup tax, sorry about that, it's not working. So usually, like what's usually pretty good in most cases is you want to search for different words like tax startup. So if I was, instead of looking for tax startup as a whole, you want to look for entries that have both tax and startup. So you can kind of break the string on different, on the spaces or any other like separator characters. So perhaps a dot or something like that, depending on your use case. But here, instead of looking for tax startup as a whole, you could look for tax and startup, and then you'd find this thing. And if there was startup, I don't know, LTD Corp or what, a tax return or whatever, you could go ahead and find both by typing startup tax. So that's just one thing that could work a little better. I'm just going to go ahead and take a quick GIF recording of this with a tool I have on my computer. So if I write startup, that's good. C Corp tax, that's good. If I remove C Corp tax, it's disappeared. So that's going to be a GIF I can just go ahead and add here. Works pretty well, but it could be improved. I'm just going to add the link here. The search feature in the templates, sorry about that, section, but should search for each like search query word individually instead of that searching or of using them as a whole. Let's go ahead and type this in the template section. I'm going to go ahead and add a link here. And what I'm going to do is add this image I have here, which I just recorded. I should be able to upload it right here. There we go, it's uploading right now. And I can go ahead and do add comment here. So now people have a link to the section. You have my GIF here illustrating what the issue is. That's pretty clear that there's a minor issue. Does the search feature indicate clearly when no results are found? It does not. Missing empty state in the templates search. Once again, I'm going to go ahead and add a link here. So they're all minor issues so far, right? No one's going to complain about this like on Twitter or anything like that, but it could be kind of irritating later on once you start adding more stuff and the search feature is more important. Perhaps it's never going to be the case. I don't know your use case, but you know, it's always good to know. Let's go ahead and skip to content now. We're done with the navigation aspect. Content. The content is formatted into easily scannable chunks with short paragraphs, subheadings, lists, etc. I think so far we've done really good with this. Like everything is well separated. There's headings, short paragraphs, like clear sections and blocks and buttons. And let me go ahead and take a look at these landing pages for the different industries. Yeah, once again, big title, short description or like short paragraph, image to illustrate what it is. And it's an actual screenshot or montage of a different parts of the application. So really helps you understand what's happening and how it's going to work. So I'm really liking this, really clear content-wise, like it's done really well. Nothing to complain about here. The content for each page starts with the most important piece of information. Imagine the way you work with clients. This is for real estate, streamline repetitive processes, flexible client portals, client updates, keep track. Like, it seems to be in a very nice order of priorities. So you can actually present the different aspects where it's going to help. And then you get to how you set it up and all the different features. Like, they're less important, but can still be convincing for the users. Pretty sure it's going to be the same thing for all the other elements here. Let's go ahead and check out the freelancers. Yeah, collect content and files from clients in one place. Once again, streamline, make it easier, keep your clients like up to date. Everything is pretty good here as well. Every piece of content serves a purpose. There's no filler content. Once again, I think that's done pretty well here. This is most often seen in long form content. So blog articles or like case studies, things like that, where there's a lot of text instead of these like short sections. In this case, there's no blog I can find. There's no case studies or anything like that. There's no long form content that I can see like right off the bat. So I don't think that's going to be an issue here. So let's go ahead and mark this. This is completed. There's nothing to be resolved. Everything's good. Interactive elements. Every link on the website works as intended. We've gone ahead and tried a few links manually here. But I know here in the Learn More section, there's a link to a broken link checking tool. So if I just go here, and you can see we tried it last time with Copy AI, let's go ahead and try it with Beau.to now. And if I go and scan the entire website, it's gonna type in this. Oh, that's interesting actually, because it's not gonna work because I think. Yeah, this is a website that's generated in JavaScript. And there's no HTML rendering. So if I look at the page here, it's fine because the JavaScript is loaded. But if I was to disable my JavaScript here and refresh, I would get absolutely nothing. It's actually pretty terrible because there's no, like, for your application, that's fine. It doesn't matter. For your website, you probably want to have some sort of like server-side rendering or static version of your websites. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of people like complaining about which one is better. There's different use cases. Let's just test something out real quick, because when there's no HTML right away, perhaps most of the time there's not going to be like different SEO meta tags and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and try it. So this is not looking great. Is this just expired, or why is it not loading the OG image here? Let me go ahead and check out the source once again for Beau here. All right, so there's a few, like every OG image tag seem to be here. Oh, but it's a name instead of property here. I don't know if Facebook and other websites actually accept that now. It used to be that they only accepted it if they used property attribute instead of name. So perhaps there's an issue here. But yeah, at least there's some meta tags here for SEO and social media previews and things. So it's not too bad. But that does mean that even Google and different search engines and different tools that, you know, do not load JavaScript, or at least don't use it right away to render pages and just put it on a further pipeline, they're gonna have a lot of trouble with your website just to get it, like get the content from it and try to figure out what's up. So in this case, the link checker is not gonna work. Spoiler alert, we're actually working on a broken link checking tool as well at Koalati that is going to support websites that are JavaScript rendered like this. So it's also going to take a look at not only the actual links themselves, but links that are like empty anchors within event listeners and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. It's probably going to be coming out in a few weeks or a month or two. So stay tuned. So here, every link on a website works as expected. I don't think I'm going to be able to test it quite well. This opens the chat. This is a mail to. That's good. I don't care about this. So let's go ahead and skip this. Let's open up every link here in a different tab just to see if something breaks. Pretty sure the main links here are going to be fine. Oftentimes it's those links within an article or within a piece of content you haven't touched in a while that are going to be a bit more affected. But let's go ahead and take a look at it. This is good. This is an HTTP link. Is there no HTTPS on this website? Yep, that's weird. This is good. All of this is fine. So everything seems to work. Twitter link works. LinkedIn link works. Let's go ahead and mark that as completed for now. Audio and video players do not start automatically on page load. We all remember these old websites where everything loaded right away. There's music in the background. You can't stop it. It's annoying. That's not a big issue anymore, but it's still important to take a look at it. In this case, there's no videos I could see or any audio, so I think we're good. In-page tabs work as intended. I've browsed most of the website and I have not seen any in-page like tabs so far. So I think we're pretty good here. An example of like in-page tab would be like a section like this that has tabs with different pieces of content here that appear. This is what this is referring to. You could learn about that here in the details section, but it's, in this case it's fine. Carousels and slideshows are working as intended. It's good. There's none. There is no slideshow in this website that I've seen so far. Information that appears only on hover. Once again, I have not seen that pattern on this website right here. Everything is already like very visible without having to hover on anything. So let's go ahead and mark that as completed as well. Browser support. This is a fun one. So let's go ahead and test it out on different browsers. So far we've loaded it on Chrome, it's working fine. Let's test it on Safari. Yes, take my cookies. There we go. So far so good. Nothing bad has appeared or is visible. Let's go ahead and check out, even the page transitions are working fine. Integrations, templates, let's give that search thing here. That's looking good as well. Oh, I think that's an issue, folks. I think we found our first big issue. Hold on, my duck is dead, so let me go ahead and kill that. I want to go ahead and, oops, God, let me get to it. There we go. In templates, I wrote tags, I clicked on this, and it's dead. Templates / undefined. So is there some kind of loading period before I click on it? But no, it's actually just a search. I think we've actually found something pretty major here. Let me go back to the search here. And, well, actually, it's going to be every link works as intended. So interactive elements here. Let me uncheck that and add here an issue. Template links when you use the search feature have broken JavaScript that leads us, that causes links with undefined, which obviously leads to a 404. I'm just going to go ahead and link this page here once again. Let's go ahead and put the link on this thing. wrong thing here. And let me go ahead and link this here. There we go. So that's one major issue we found here. Pretty sure no one's gonna find that like right off the bat, once again, because everything or almost everything is visible right away. Like at that point, with so few elements, you could probably just like update the limit of the items displayed here to 4 and just remove the search. Just enable it once you've got more items. That's probably going to fix most of your issues, and it's like the search is not super useful when there's nothing in there to be searched for. Just my 2 cents here. So let's go ahead and resume our testing on Safari. That didn't go too well. Everything else I think is going to be pretty straightforward because there's no like major feature like interactiveness anywhere on the website other than these nice transitions and the search features. So yeah, these are all just landing pages, pricing. I guess there's these things. We're working pretty well as well. Like nothing to complain about here. Actually, I do have one thing to complain about, and oh, I can't actually close this thing. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and I'm not gonna add an issue on this, but like usually you want to make the tap target as big as possible for the thing that you can actually click on. So right here, there's the padding on the parent item. So right, this thing. What I would do instead is add it to the clickable element. You'd obviously want to add some padding to the content as well afterwards. So I guess this is the content here. Let me just go ahead and try to add same padding here. Yeah, there we go. Probably can remove the padding top. There we go. So this way, if I click like even at the bottom here or at the top here, it's gonna click. Before that, like this does nothing. I have to click on this specific container, and it's just a bit more complicated. And there's more chances of people like clicking and not having anything work and thinking your thing is broken, or having to click multiple times and then rage quitting your, yeah, you know the drill. We're gonna come back to like accessibility later. So let's go ahead and check out these last few pages. Everything is working fine. This is good. So Chrome, we've tested. Safari, we've tested. Microsoft Edge, I will not be testing because it's pretty much the same thing as Google Chrome right now. In real QA, you'd probably want to go ahead and test it out just in case. But, you know, in this case, I'm just doing this for a video. We're going fast. And yeah, we're just going to skip it. Firefox now. Beau.to. All right, loading was a bit slower on this one, but I don't think that's probably more my internet than the browser itself. Let's close all these things. There's so many things that open on websites these days. I'm pretty much against it, but it's not a specific issue for this website. It's not too bad. This one closes automatically. This one is just temporary because there's a product hunt launched today. So that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and check out these different pages once again. Nothing bad, nothing crazy to complain about. I haven't seen this page yet. That's pretty interesting. Let me go ahead and take a look at these pages. So all of these link to the same thing. That's kind of a, I'm not gonna say crappy, but well, that's a low effort, I would say, documentation. So if everything here links to the same thing, why have 4 different things? Just to make it look like you have more? That's something I'm not super pumped with. I think that's a kind of this like deceitful pattern. So yeah, I guess you're probably gonna add if you're gonna add the articles later and just wanted to have something here for launch, I think that's okay. But yeah, if you're not planning on adding these things, I would probably just figure another way of doing it, like making these, I don't know, examples of something you can find in the Help Center and then just linking to the Help Center. Other than that, once again, we're looking pretty good on Firefox here. Let's check out the apps login just to see. Yeah, looking good as well. So Firefox looking good as well. I'm gonna close these. iPad, iPad Pro, iPad Mini, iPhone, all that jazz. Let me go ahead and I don't have any of these on hand, or none of them that I can actually display on the screen. So let me go ahead and follow the link in here. I'm gonna go to Browser Stack and see what it looks like on there. All right, so now we're on Browser Stack. Let's go ahead and check out iOS. Now it says here you should probably be testing on different types of iPads, right? iPad Pro, iPad Mini, and iPhone, and then Android devices. Let's go ahead and check out iPad Pro, or iPad, I guess, 9th generation, or perhaps 8th. Just because most people are not going to have the latest generation. Let's give the 8th generation a shot. I'm going to be using Safari. That's the default browser that most people are going to be using. And it's the same engine on different web browsers in iOS anyway. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. If you're not used to Browser Stack or haven't heard of it before, this is actually a real device that I'm being synced to. So like it's not an emulator. It's not like just a small window like iframe with the website resized in there. This is an actual device that I'm connecting to. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer here. It doesn't usually take that long. Not sure what's happening here. There we go. So as it says here, you're testing on a real device. So there we go. The website is loading very slowly, apparently. I don't know if that's like the iPad or if that's an actual bug. Like, is it gonna work? That's interesting. Let's check out the dev tools and perhaps like refresh. I'm getting an error here. Unexpected end of script. Like, is there anything missing here? Nothing has failed in the network requests. I'm gonna go ahead and switch browser, maybe test it out on the latest one, iPad 9th generation, see if that works. Because if it works here, like on the latest version, but not on Safari, on iOS 14, depending on your, yeah, I think, there we go. So it's gonna work here, but not on the older browsers, older iPads and stuff. That's really interesting, actually. So iOS 14, it's not gonna work. Let's go ahead and test it out here on an iPad Pro with also iOS 14. Let's take a look at the release date for that. This was released in 2020. Usage statistics. Let's go ahead and see how many people use each version of iOS here. So iOS 14, as of 2022, most people are using 15.4 at this point. Like, very much the majority here. The rest are still using 15. There's 5% of people on 14.8. Like, there's maybe like 6 or 7% of people worldwide using iOS 14 something. So that's not a big issue, but still like 5 to 7% of the entire iPad, like, and probably iPhone as well, market is not able to load your website like that, that's probably going to be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and type this here. The website just won't load on iOS 14 and lower. So let's go ahead and keep testing here on iPad. Here we see that it's pretty much the same layout, the same website. Images have been moved above instead of like side by side. See, here we have a lot more space for the sticky element, so I don't mind as much. Like, I think this is looking pretty neat, other than this really like weirdly colored title here. It'd probably just be black like the rest of them. But yeah, like there's space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably even 6, maybe even 7 elements here with the like sticky element at the bottom. So I think that's pretty nice. Like it's looking good, keeps things fresh when you're scrolling. It's a little bit different than what you usually see. I think that's nice. But on the browser here, like I didn't have as much space, so I think this feels weird here. So yeah, that's my comment here. Other than that, so far, so good for the iPad. Let's take a look at the navigation. This is looking pretty good. Product, how it works. Why is this like aligned to the left when everything else is centered? Like it's aligned to the left and this line is really long. Like I think there's probably something to be done here, just making it, I don't know, centered like everything else. Like I don't know how it's set up. So it's a grid. Grid template columns, there's just one column at this point. So I think I could do some kind of align, or what is it with grid? Is it also justify content? No, but I could just go ahead and take these things right here and probably go ahead and say, oh, this one is actually, there we go. Can I do this? Something like that perhaps? And even go ahead and say like, I don't know, max width, I don't know, 400 pixels or maybe 600, 500. Just give it like trying different things here. And then going with a margin auto, like something like that. I think that would look perhaps 500. You know, there's some toying around to be done here. Perhaps even you can go and align like the text align center. Yeah, that part I'm not sure because the images aren't fully like centered as well. But you can see like where I'm going with this. I think it's like a bit easier to read and more in line with the rest of the page. Or I guess these sections are also left aligned. Yeah, I think it looks a bit weird, to be honest. I think it was designed on a desktop and then just shoehorned into a mobile or tablet interface. It's probably actually using the same layout as it is on mobile. So on a mobile device, it's probably looking pretty good because there's no margin or like there's no space to add around the image, so everything is kind of full width. But on tablet, it's looking kind of iffy. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, oops, it's slash how it works, right? How it works. I'm gonna go ahead and say, add another comment here, say the alignment of the sections with images is a bit weird on tablet. Left aligned text with centered images in some sections. Let me go ahead and put this in the bullet list actually. Left aligned text and image in other sections feels a bit like a mobile layout shoehorned, or desktop, I guess, into a tablet layout, tablet viewport. Let's go ahead and in the how it works page. Let's go ahead and add a link on that. There we go. So let's go ahead and keep testing. Other than that, like even the features here, I think it could be a little bit better. The tablet is actually like, it's a device that's getting a lot of people like using it, but it's also a device that's not tested on as much as phones. Most people use their phones, but still, like, tablet usage is really high. I don't know about this demographic for the like client onboarding and stuff, but there's a lot of people using tablets, and oftentimes companies and designers and developers don't test as much on tablets and different like tablet style resolutions. And oftentimes you can just go and see it really quickly by scaling your website, your browser like this, into a like tablet like resolution, and you'll see kind of weird things happening on many websites. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on this. Once again, I think there's some improvements to be made. It's nothing major. Like this here, like clearly has not been looked at on a tablet, because it's looking really weird. Like the alignment of these text elements, I don't know. Like if there was more spacing, perhaps it could work. I'm interested in seeing like what it looks like here. Like here, there's more space. It's working pretty nicely. Like there's a lot of space here. There's a lot of space between like these elements. A lot of space at the bottom. Here, this text is like stuck right next to this paragraph, and it feels weird. There's a lot of space around, so you kind of expect this same level of spacing in the middle. Yeah, once again, I think that's the same desktop view that's kind of shoehorned into a tablet interface. Once again, not to say anything, like I'm not saying this to complain or tell the Beau team they're terrible at this design, or the Nord team, I guess, that designed this. The entire design is looking majestic, but there's some testing and improvements to be done on certain specific resolutions, and that's why quality control and user testing is pretty important. So yeah, other than that, I think we're doing pretty good on this device. Let's go ahead and rotate it just to see if we see anything else that's gonna stand out. I'm gonna go back into how it works to see how it looks. Yeah, this is good. Like this is just a desktop view at this point, so I'm not gonna go through everything. It's the iPad Pro, like in landscape mode, is pretty much a monitor. So iPad Pro looks good. Ooh, actually, I went into the iPad for this one, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the same on the new iPad though. Let's go ahead and check out the how it works page just to be sure, because I entered the comment in the wrong entry here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be the same thing on the iPad Pro and on the iPad. Yep, exactly the same thing. It's weird. Let's go ahead and copy paste this. Or yeah. I'm not gonna paste it everywhere. Yeah, I am. Actually, I am gonna paste it everywhere. Just so we know. iPad mini. I'm gonna go through really quickly just to see if the issue is there as well. Not gonna go any further into it. This is fun, by the way, testing like new websites, new applications from Product Hunt. I think I'm going to be doing this more. Let me know if you'd like a series where I just do this once in a while. Yeah, once again, it's looking a bit weird. It's not as intense because there's less space, but I think it's still looking a bit weird. And probably could find like some other, ooh, this illustration full size like this is looking pretty really cool actually. Even this, like, I'm not sure about the spacing and the alignment of these elements. It's kind of looking weird. But I'm not gonna go through all of this. So let's just go ahead and say this is good for now. iPad mini, I'm gonna go ahead and paste same issue here. Not sure why this is loading indefinitely. Let me just go ahead and refresh. There we go. Let's go ahead and check out the iPhone. I have an iPhone here. Let's go ahead and use my iPhone 11. That's what I have. So let's go ahead and test it. So I have this. I know a lot of people have this kind of phone. I think that's a good place to start. Ideally, you'd probably want to go ahead and test this on different like iPhones, unless you've actually designed like your stuff and tested it in your browser. So just to give an example, there's a difference between using the like Chrome's emulator here and using browser stack. The main difference is that here you get the resolution and you get the user agent and stuff, but you're not getting the Safari specific issues and that might come and happen on a phone or something like that. So that's why you can usually test like really quickly for your design, making sure spacing is good, making sure everything looks fine on your browser, like your desktop browser like this. But you always want to go ahead and check it out at the end using a real device or, you know, a browser stack or something like that, just to make sure there's no Safari specific rendering issues or like browser support issues. So once again, let me go ahead and close this. Like this image. Wait, I like the image, but where's the title? Did I miss the title? Easy onboarding step by step. Yeah, once again here, I think, I don't know. I'm wondering if this text should be visible like right away. I think it should. Be just a bit more visible. Like when I open the page, because right now it's going to be hidden by the navigation at the bottom. And even on the phone with the navigation at the top, if you change your settings, I think it's still going to be cropped out, like out of the viewport. So perhaps this could be like, I'm just going to go here and copy paste it from here and say the hero's tagline or I don't know, subtitle isn't visible, is hidden by the navigation on iPhone. Let me go ahead and just add this as a quote just because it's going to be clear. There we go. And there we go. I guess I could have added an image as well. Let me go ahead and, well, I'm just going to skip through this. This is a short video. Let's just get to it. So here, as I said before, the alignment of the images and the text makes a lot more sense here. Because even if it was left aligned here, I think I'm probably going to be in how it works still. Let's give it a shot. Wait, do these headings not work the first time I click on them? It's happened twice now. Not sure if this is browser stacked like being iffy or what, but this is weird. Once again, the title is centered, the image is centered, but the text is not. And there's no padding or spacing like around the text here. I feel like there should be more spacing and more alignment with these elements. Let me go ahead and just take a screenshot of that. And I'm gonna go in iPhone here, iPhone. Add this here in a comment. There we go. In the how it works page, the alignment of text and headings, text, heading, and images. Image is weird. So now we have an example here of what's happening. Other than that, to be honest, like this features section is a lot more clean and simple than it was on tablet, on an iPad. I think the same idea could have been done on iPad where the heading is alone at the top, and then it could have been the same thing, just a listing, but in 2 columns. Pretty much the same as it was, except instead of the title taking half the screen with white space, it's just everything is full width. So once again, this is looking pretty simple, pretty good. I'm intrigued at seeing if this is going to work still here. X. Yeah, this is updating in real time. That's good. And then when there's nothing here in the search, it goes back to featured or to my like full list. I'm interested in seeing the preview here. Actually, I didn't see this yet. Or preview. Oh, it's a demo. All right, never mind. All right, so let's go ahead and say this is done. Next up, I want to go ahead and test on an Android device. I know nothing about Android devices, to be honest. Let's go ahead and I like to go on like not the latest version usually just to test it out. Let's go ahead and check out Galaxy S21. And I'm going to be using Samsung Internet because a lot of people use Samsung Internet in different areas of the world. And also, it's usually just one or two like releases of Chromium behind Chrome, I think, or something like that. I think I heard something about that, so I'm not sure. But yeah, that makes it so it's a bit easier to test on this. Can I go back to the homepage here? There we go. Let's go ahead and go to app. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm just trying to use desktop shortcuts on a mobile device here. And there we go. This is good. This is good. Once again, takes a little bit of space here. Not sure that this banner should push the page down, but I guess it should because it's still adding like space for the navigation. But it's kind of weird to have the page load and then have the entire page scroll down or like move down, only to then move back up when you close the thing. I think this could probably be improved. This is weird. Like there's so much space. Why is everything so stuck to one, like in one area? It's not a major issue. No one's going to complain about this once again, but could look better. Let's go ahead and say on the home page on a Galaxy S21, I don't even know what section that is. The 5 challenges could take up more space and be less smushed. Smushed? There we go. Let's go with it like this. Once again, very minor issue, but still, I think that's something I would fix personally if I was like, or I work in an agency as well, and if I was to do a QA and be ended this page, I would absolutely fix this if I was to spot this in the QA. So, or I would talk to the designer and the developers about it just to see like what they think. But I think that this should be fixed, and I'm pretty sure the designers would agree. Other than that, you see like right here, the alignment makes a lot more sense on mobile here, as we said before. because even if the titles are centered, the image is full width and the text also takes the full width, so it doesn't look nearly as weird. I still think it could be left aligned here, the title, but it's really not like looking bad or anything like that. It's still looking great. So yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty good. I'm not gonna go through everything again here. I think we're good for the mobile testing here. Let's go ahead and close browser stack. Thank you very much. Now the photos, let's skip to the design section here. I'm not a designer, so I'm gonna be very mathematical about this. The photos and images on each page convey relevant information. I think that's the case. Except I guess this thing has no actual use, but it does make the page look nice and set like the tone for what the design is gonna look like. Everything else here is pretty interesting. Like they're very abstract images. Like this right here, I have no idea what it is. Like it could be like a dumbbell, it could be like a training weight or something like that. It could be a button or like some kind of switch or a lever. But overall, I can read the label like underneath it, and I do like how it looks. Approved steps, like the very abstract check mark here is good. Updated, once again, very abstract, but it's looking good. Looks like a button with like conversation bubble here. Request details, I'm not sure what this is. This is just a green box. But, you know, it's pretty clear. Like, this is not something I would complain about just because there's an aesthetic to it. And it's not like, I don't think that's going to be a huge image. So, like, that's 7K. That's 7K. That's pretty big for how small it is still. I'm actually intrigued into how much lower I can actually make it. Just gonna test it out really quickly. Let's try out Optimage right here. See what it's gonna give. Yeah, 3K right here. Let's see if there's actually any difference between these visually. There's a slight difference, but like it's barely noticeable if you're actually like looking at it and zooming in. So this could absolutely be optimized just to make it a tiny bit smaller, but you know, that's really going too far into it. There's probably going to be better optimizations to do and better things to focus on. Other than that, yeah, there's different images here. There's a lot of abstract images like this that don't actually add any value per se. But it's hard to say like remove them because they're really part of the design, and I think they look really nice. I don't know where the image here is, but either way, I don't think it would look like the website would look nearly as good and feel nearly as good without all these like really cool abstract images. Really feels like it's part of the brand and the vibe. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this so far from what I've seen on the website. And there's almost always some kind of abstract like idea of what this is, like solutions for professionals. Like there's different steps you can like collect and put together, like different pieces, and put them together to make a whole. I don't know. No idea what the actual like meaning of this was, but that's what I see from it. Clickable elements have clear visual indicators indicating that they can be clicked. This is a button. It's clear visually. It kind of looks like a button. There's this arrow here, makes it feel like I can click it. There's a clear like feedback when I do hover up on it. If I press on it, and it goes even further like a real button. These links here, it's a navigation, so they're like pretty standardized navigation. So there's not really anything to say about it. There's not anything special making them look like links other than their position on the page, and I think that's good enough for me. And that's probably good enough for most users as well. These, obviously some kind of link here. I think I'd be interested in seeing perhaps some color on these. So perhaps let's go ahead and do like, could I get, wait, why is the color picker not working? That's interesting. Let me go ahead and steal that color here. And could I do color like this? Or perhaps there's something else. Finding the color. This is the background. Button text color. Yeah, I think it could be like slightly different color just to make it a bit more obvious. I'm not liking this color obviously, but I don't know. I think it could be slightly different just to be more clear that it's clickable. But still the wave here like kind of gives it away that it's a clickable thing, and the animation here kind of helps as well, the pointer, everything. So it could be improved, but it's still looking good, and it's not something I would like focus on fixing anytime soon. I don't think I've seen any other type of button on the website or on the page. So yeah, I think perhaps here it's not super clear that these things are clickable. Like this thing is not clickable, but it looks the same as these. Perhaps there's something to be done here. Not sure. Let's just take a look and do like footer item A, just to see like, see, this is not looking nearly as neat. But it's a lot more clear to me. Like, I can clearly see when I come down here that these are section headers, these are links, this is an address. Like, even this should be a link, like underlined as well, probably. But still, you know, I think I would prefer that with the underline here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add this here. Let's go ahead and say pretty good, looking good overall. But I think footer links could be improved by adding some sort of clickability indicator, like an underline. Designers probably gonna disagree. Some will disagree, some will agree. I think this is just much more usable. And I said it's not nearly as good looking, but to be honest, I kind of prefer it. I do personally think it looks better. I don't know. Everyone's going to have a different opinion on this, so let's just go ahead and skip ahead. Icons on a website are either standard or immediately recognizable, or accompanied by a text label. So that's kind of what we saw earlier here. I consider these to be images, but they're really kind of icons. It's just their brand of icon. And they have labels, so they're not always super standard. They're not super like identifiable for some of them. But there's a label underneath. It's super clear like what it's about, like request details, keep updated, accept payments. I think that's pretty good. And they're even linked to these, like the screenshot above, to kind of see what it's about. So far, so good on these. Visited links are displayed in a different color or style in order to look used. If I give an example of this, I think I can go back here. There we go. So this link right here, my browser knows I've visited this page before. It appears as purple instead of blue. Compared to this where I haven't visited it before, so it's kind of a blue link. In this case, for most, like you don't want to do that for buttons really. You probably don't want to do that for your main navigation either. That's going to be weird and bad. People don't expect this in your navigation anyway. Neither for your like footer sitemap. The places where this is really interesting is in articles and like long form content once again. And like that's where you often have like an article linking to another article, which might just link to other articles which were already linked in the previous one. And in these cases, it can get confusing for the users who like read a bunch of like clicked on a bunch of links and read a bunch of things on the first one, then goes to a different article, has the same links with different text, and they're not marked as visited, so they won't necessarily know that they've seen the page, so they might just open the link, see, oh shit, I've been on this page before, then have to go back, close the tab, blah, blah, blah. It's annoying. Just go ahead and put a visited color or indicator in your long form articles and like content pieces. It's going to help. In this case, there's no real area where this should be done, so it's good. There's a whole section about the forms here, but I don't think there's a form anywhere on the website. Like I don't consider the template research thing to be a form. I'm really talking about contact form, career form. I guess I could do in Help Center perhaps, but even these, like they're on the Y Combinator website, so there's not anything they can do about that. I guess the chat bubble here could be something, but once again, it's pretty straightforward. They're not great practices here, but so they're using like placeholders instead of labels. Here, same as here as well. There's no clear indicator of what's required, what's not. In this case, I expect they're both required because there's no indicators anywhere. But once again, this is a chat pop-up from a third-party like service, so there's nothing they can do about that. I'm not gonna go ahead and dive into this. There's no form I can see. I guess I could go ahead and check out the form for this. This is the only form I'm gonna see. So if I click here, there we go. You must accept the terms of service and privacy policy. Oh, well, I'm happy I did this. Request data invalid. That's clearly, like, this is a developer error. This is not a user-friendly error at all. Because I go ahead, I click this, I see get a demo. Request data invalid. What the hell is this, like, saying? So let's say I entered, I don't know, let's go ahead and type my email at koalati.com. And let's say I type .com or, I don't know, add two things like this. Let's go ahead and see what it does, right? Request data invalid. So this message here is clear. This is good. Like this is very clear. This value is not a valid email address. That's good because it's not an email address. And when I click before, it says shouldn't be blank. The format should probably be a bit more consistent. But still, you know, this is a much more clear error message. But this should either not be there at all because it's actually, yeah, there's an error message here. So instead of having this notice here appear that says absolutely nothing that's helpful for me, that's kind of driving my attention in the corner of the page for like a few seconds, and then having me come back here to see that, oh shit, there's actually another error message here that's much more clear. Like I would probably just get rid of this thing entirely. Because if there's not this, like let me go ahead and see if I can just, I'm gonna go ahead and do toast and display non-important just so it doesn't appear anymore. So here, if I didn't have an error, I think I'm gonna refresh just to show you. Toast display non-important. So if I start here and I press get a demo, there's nothing in the corner here. Well, damn, I think I just broke it. Would it display none? Really? Okay, so here, this message appears in the corner in the toast and not here. But this message, if I do check this, this says nothing and then the message appears here. So there's a consistency issue here where you want to make it more consistent. I have no idea, like, why is there two different types of error messages that are like both handled? There's more than two actually, because like this is an error message that's clear, but even then it goes away after a little bit. So if I didn't have time to read it, I have no idea what I did wrong. And then if I do this, the same thing is used with a developer message. And that makes no sense for a user. So what you really should do instead is probably just have this type of message for everything in this kind of form, like in these small form. Where if I didn't check this, I should probably just have an error message here that says, hey, you haven't checked the privacy policy in terms of service agreement. You need to agree to those before you get a demo. Otherwise, it's really just hard to understand. Unless you're really quick, you're probably going to miss it. And there's nothing in the interface like indicating you haven't checked this. So there's the same kind of validation that you have on your fields here should be applied to your form and your entire form and your check marks here. This is a simple form, so it's easy to like figure out what you've done wrong. But in other situations where there's more fields, it's going to be really confusing for people. So let's just go ahead and test out what I did earlier. Let me refresh the page, check this. Go ahead and say toast, display, none important. So at least without the toast grabbing my attention, if I click get a demo here, I see this change. It says shouldn't be blank. And that's good because that's where my attention went. I clicked, I waited for a bit, and then it said this. When I have the toast, I click, I wait for a bit, something like huge and orange flashes in the corner of my screen, my attention is driven there, and then it disappears, and I'm like, okay. I go back here, and then I see this error, when I should just, like, I don't need the toast, I just need to see this error here, that's much more clear, I can fix it right away, and I'm on my merry way. So, yeah. What else did I want to test here? Oh yeah, I want to talk about the button here. Like, I'm going to refresh once again just to have the toast here, but like there's no like indicator. I can clearly see that something is loading here. But like it takes a minute for me to actually get the confirmation. So I would probably want you to have some kind of loading indicator on your button. I don't know if there's a form or an element that like something that happens. I'm just trying to get this Nux progress. Let's go ahead and just like prototype something real quick here. And I'm gonna go ahead and target this kind of button here. I'm gonna go and do button, or even like panel __ button. Not sure if this is gonna work, but we're gonna give it a shot. Background color, let's go ahead and make this thing gray. So let's go ahead and do, I don't know, 777. It's probably good enough. So in this case, all right, this is not working. Next progress, is that it? Is that an ID? Is there like a more specific thing on the background here? Perhaps there is. Let me just go ahead and do important just to see. Yeah, there we go. That's already like a bit better. I click on it. There's still a delay, so I'm not liking that, but it's, you know, you can actually see what my intent is here. Let me go ahead and do like, I don't know, DDD or something like that, just so it's even more obvious. Now, if I click the button, I can actually see that it's grayed out, something is happening, like I should be waiting. Perhaps even a loading spinner or something could appear. It'd be nice. Even if it's just for a few seconds, or like half a second. If there's no feedback, I'm going to be confused. Like the first time I clicked, I was actually confused. So that's something you probably want to do. And I'm not going to go ahead and go any further because that's going to be diving into the application, and I'm just going to be focusing on the website for now. So the public aspects, because I could go in forever if I go into the application. So every form asks for as little information as possible. That is true. It just asked for my email so far, so that's really nice. Presented in a single column. It was. There was no like email here and then terms of service here and then button here. It's just one column. It's easy to follow. You just go down the list. Everything is easy. Required fields are marked as such in every form. There is an exception here. If you read the articles or look at the description here, there's going to be an exception that's kind of different mindsets on this. So if there's just one or two fields and nothing is indicated as required, it usually means that everything is required, and then optional fields would be marked as optional. So in this case, it's pretty clear that, required field is required. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark this as done. Labels are close to the fields they described. Yep, there's one field here. There's a lot of spacing between the inputs and the fields. I think that's going to be good. Labels, hints, and instructions are not displayed as placeholders. Once again, this is good. In this case, even the placeholder could probably be removed. But I guess it doesn't look much like an input here if there's no placeholder. So placeholder kind of helps indicate that this is an input, but some people can be confused by placeholders. But once again, I'm not going to go too far into this. Overall, it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's good. Related fields are grouped together in longer forms, so we haven't seen this. I'm just going to go ahead and check this. Each field uses right type and right size. Is this a type email? It is. That's going to help mobile devices like figure out what kind of keyboard to show as well. There's a different attribute to actually force this, but some devices and frameworks will use the type to figure it out. Fields with requirements or limitations have their instructions clearly explained under the fields label. There's nothing here to indicate or nothing to specify, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's good. Error messages provide clear indications of what is correct and incorrect and how it can be fixed. Like, I'm going to go ahead and just take a screenshot of the things I've mentioned before. I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this. Let me go ahead and just circle that so it's very clear that this is the thing I'm pointing at in my screenshot. I can even add an arrow just to be even more clear. There we go. Let's go ahead and say like this toast generic. Oops. That's weird. All right, let me just refresh real quick. Uploading the image. Let's see if something wrong happens here. That's interesting. All right. I'll fix this after the video. Let me just take a smaller screenshot. I think that's probably going to work. Perhaps the file is too big. Probably should say so, but there we go. The file was probably too big. Let me go ahead and improve this error message myself afterwards. So no one is free of bad error messages here. Very context appropriate. This toast error message is unclear and useless. As the form already displays a more specific error message. There we go. And then error messages and forms are placed right next to the field containing the error. I'm going to go ahead and point out the same thing here. Not this one, but this one. Let me go ahead and refresh. And take this here. Is way too far away from the input it's about. And it also disappears for a few seconds, which is inconvenient. Forms display or redirect the success message when they're submitted. This is mostly about, in this case, it'd probably be like logged into the app. Let me go ahead and just try it out. We'll see what it's about. I don't really have any clients to onboard, but let me just get a demo here. See, that's good. I'm a bit sad about this because I didn't want someone to contact me. Sorry to the folks at Beau here. Just wanted to test out your form. But yeah, this is good. There's a clear indication that the form has been submitted. There's like clear indications of what to expect. Someone is going to be in touch with me soon. So once again, that's good. And then I can't actually see like tests that it does. If you're building the website yourself, you'd be able to see like whether or not the message has actually been sent to these team members so they can actually like contact me. So this is what the last point is about. I'm not going to check it because I can't actually verify that. Now let's go ahead and move on to social. Social here is all about social previews and social media previews, like cards on Twitter, cards on Facebook, stuff like that. You know, if someone posts a link on Slack and you see what it looks like, let's just go and check out the Twitter card validator. No card found. So there's nothing for this page here. Let me, perhaps if I can try a landing page, perhaps the landing pages have been more optimized. Nope, no meta tags found at all, really? OG anything? OG title, OG description. But yeah, these are using name. They're not supposed to use name, I don't think. They're supposed to use OG image, name versus property. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to use property all the time, and name is not supported. Like, let's take a look at the Open Graph protocol here. Yeah, everything in the documentation is about property. I don't think name is supported anywhere. So that's the same thing that's giving Facebook issues in our previous tests. In every meta here, you have name equals OG image, name equals OG title. Name is fine for all the default like meta tags, like description, keywords, viewport. Like that's the real supported attribute for the meta tag. But the OG protocol uses its own property attribute, and name is not supported anywhere or officially supported anywhere. So you really want to be careful here that you're using the right attribute, because otherwise it's like here, it should display something like the image here. Somehow it still detects the OG image based on the raw tags, I guess, but it's not displaying it correctly. So I expect this would be due to the bad naming of the attribute. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to quote like this one perhaps. And I'm going to go ahead and say pages have an OG image defined, but the meta tag uses the wrong attribute to define this. It uses name instead of property. Wrong. Let me go ahead and add this here. Or actually, I could do this as a code snippet. And then I could go ahead and say what's right. Let me go ahead and do this and change this to property. And I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this thing here because I'm going to have the same issue with OG title. I'm going to go remove these snippets just because I don't want to copy paste them everywhere and have the wrong meta tag here. There we go. So OG title is going to have the same issue. OG description, once again, same issue. And then OG URL. I don't know actually if there's an OG URL. There is not. Is there canonical? There is not. There is no OG URL and no canonical URL defined. This could be an issue. Albeit fairly compared to some other things we've spotted in the QA, but still. So there we go. The website's footer contains links to the social media accounts. We've seen it before. LinkedIn and Twitter were there. I'm gonna go to SEO just before I go to accessibility because we're pretty much testing it right now. So if I go ahead and type description, name description, it does have a meta description, and then there's different ways to test for these. If you're looking like page per page, you can actually have Chrome extensions here to scrape it out pretty easily. You'll see that this one right here, there's a title. It's not super well optimized because it's not using much of the space it has, but the description does kind of help. It's probably not, I don't know how well optimized it is, but it's looking pretty good overall. And then, yeah, let's go ahead and you can actually see like the social here, but even then it's like agreeing to use the name attribute instead of property, which I don't think many other element use. I think I should have something about Twitter cards here as well, but probably gonna add this in a bit. So every page has a title. It's optimized for SEO. You could argue this isn't super well optimized for SEO. There's probably other things you can add in there, rework this to be more optimized for SEO purposes. But even then, Google is smart nowadays. This is pretty clean for a user to click on. I think that's fine-ish. At least there's a title. There's some work to be done, but it's not looking horrible. Every page has a meta description with a short description that's optimized for SEO. Once again, we do know that this is actually, the title is good. The description is not about law firms at all. So now I'm in the solutions for law firms. If I go to education, the description is always the same. It's always the same 94 character description here. So I'm going to go ahead and add here the meta description is the same for every page. It should be unique to the page's content and intent. Audience and intent. I'm going to go ahead and add this just to show what the actual description is. So this is a slight issue. Every page is going to have, I'm sure if I Google for Beau onboarding, Google is going to see that every page has the same description, and they're going to find, Google is going to find its own description in the content. I would expect so. Yeah, there we go. So easy onboarding. This is the basic description. This here has a description that's not super optimized. Once again, it's the same as every page, but Google does notice that, and it sees that it's not super helpful for users. So it goes ahead and fetches content from the page. So if I went here, it decided to take content from this page right here, this section. So if you really want to control or help control what's going to be appearing in your snippets, setting a unique description is obviously the best, because Google does find content in the page. The sharing debugger is not going to do that. It's just going to take what you give it. So it's always going to be the same description here. All right, so next up, every page has a simple URL that is easy to read and understand. I've been through these before. I think I agree with that. They're pretty simple, pretty easy. Solutions, education, human resources, solutions/HR. Perhaps it could be a tiny bit longer just to add some more keywords in there, but to be honest, I prefer keeping the URLs short and using, the the content to describe what it is. Technically, there might be some, like there's probably a lot of SEO reasons to add more keywords in your thing here. So like HR, I don't know, client onboarding or HR onboarding tool or whatever, service or platform. Like it could be something like this to add some more keywords in your URL. Personally, I'm a big fan of the shorter URLs, so I'm not going to complain about this. At least every URL is clean, they're short, they're good looking, they describe what they're about. I think that's good. And then every page's loading speed is within 1 to 3 seconds. So far, we've seen that this is the case manually, and I'm on a slow internet connection, so that's even better. But we're going to see how there's some optimizations might be made in the recommendations section afterwards. But according to me, that's good. Finally, we're going to go through accessibility here. Just a few key points of accessibility. It doesn't cover everything, and if you should really get people with accessibility issues to or used to use accessibility tools and keyboard and shortcuts and stuff like that to test your website instead of you testing it yourself if you're not used to these tools and different things. But let's just go through a few key points that can actually help and be done pretty easily. Pages use H1 through H6 heading tags to organize the structure of the content. I've seen this before here. This extension actually gives it to me as well. So H1, reimagine the way you onboard employees, streamline repetitive processes. So there's different subsections here. Set up client workflows in minutes. These step 1, step 2, step 3. I guess it helps. It's better than nothing, I guess. It does categorize like what these steps are. Perhaps this should be a list instead. I'd argue this should probably be a list, not headings, just to have it like an organized list. And have each of these be a list item. So none of these should actually be heading. I personally think. But yeah, that's not horrible either way. More features, try Beau for free. So this is looking good. We've seen different pages. I think this is going to be looking pretty much the same on every page. It's looking pretty good. Once again, not going to go through every page here. This looks good to me. Every image that conveys information or context as an alt attribute that describes its content. And then every decorative image has an empty alt attribute. So let's take a look at this. This is an image. That's, yeah, first issue right here. There's an image. There's no alt description, so alternative descriptions for people who won't see the image, who have trouble understanding what it is, or even for search engines and stuff like that to know what the image is, or what like kind of information it conveys. Here, there's nothing. So if this is a decorative image, it should have an empty alt attribute. So an alt attribute with nothing in there. So this says to the browser and to users and to accessibility tools that the image is there, but it's merely decorative. So here we see ignored. If I had removed the alt here, it still says ignored. But some tools here won't actually ignore this. We'll probably just gonna go ahead and say there's an image there without actually adding any context to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess that most of these images don't have any alt description. Oh, that's not too bad. Yeah, there's one right here. Use a visual editor as an alt description for this. I think that's pretty good. How about these? I think these should be decorative. So, alt collect forms. Yeah, I think that's wrong here. The issue I think here is that this says collect forms, but there's also a label here that says collect forms. So if you're using a screen reader, and if we look at the accessibility tree here, what you're going to read is collect forms, accept payments, keep updated, request details. It's getting real redundant really quickly. So if you have a label right here explaining what it is, you don't actually need this right here. Like, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, people, but this is a decorative image. Like, decorative. There's nothing, like, it doesn't add any information that's not already in the page right next to it. So just remove the alt description here and leave it empty. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and yeah, here. This right here could be like, I don't know, add attribute, alt, step by step, client experience. Because that's like, the interface doesn't tell me much, but that's the label that's on the image. If I have like visibility issues, I'm not going to be able to see this. Or if I'm using like some kind of screen reader, I have no idea what this says. Same for this. Smooth workflows. Meh. In this case, it doesn't add much context because it's already saying create a smooth workflow. But this kind of adds a bit of value, I think, just to have it translated into an alt attribute. This I'd probably leave as decorative, but yeah. Either way, you get the idea. There's a lot of work to be done here. I should probably go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and add a few elements here. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. Not sure what's happening here. I really want to go ahead and fix this right after this video. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. My screenshot went away, so I'm just going to go ahead and open this right here. These images have redundant alt attribute descriptions. They should be marked as decorative. Like this image right here. Oops. I'm just gonna go ahead and say like, this is probably too big again. The hero image should be marked as decorative. And then here, let's go ahead and say this should have a alt description with the label that's in the image. There's a typo here. I'm just gonna stick to it anyway. Don't know why I refreshed there. Let's go ahead and skip to the last element here. You'd want to go ahead and do this for every page. I think I'm gonna skip there pretty quickly. I think there's gonna be loads of similar issues on different pages. So, Beau folks, feel free to take a look at that and improve on it. Every page can be navigated logically and interacted with using only the keyboard. So this is a test that a lot of websites are going to fail. Let's take a look at this. I'm starting here, pressing tab. So I can see right away that they're relying on the browser's default outline. That's not horrible, but to make sure it works correctly everywhere, you probably want to take a look into it and customize it to make it your own. It's going to fit the design a bit more, and you can actually test it to make sure it actually works everywhere. So right now, I press tab again, and we can see at the bottom here, my screen, bottom right, bottom left, it says the link I'm hovering or I'm focusing, but I'm not actually seeing it. So these drop downs right here in the menu are not like tab targeting friendly. So keyboard navigation is going to be pretty much impossible here. I'm just pressing tab repeatedly here, going through stuff. Yeah, so I think adding some sort of custom outline here just to make sure it works correctly, and then designing these drop downs. So let's just go ahead and prototype something really quickly. Let's just go ahead and do focus visible outline. I'm going to go ahead and say 2 pixels solid. And let's just go ahead and use this green right here, or perhaps purple. I don't know, I'm going to go with, I don't know why my color picker is not working. Either way, let's just go ahead and select, is there a color somewhere? I'd like a better color. Let's just go ahead and get some kind of greenish, perhaps some kind of teal like we have here. It's not going to be the same color, but we're going to get the idea. And I'm going to go ahead and add an offset of 2 pixels. Let's see what this looks like. Interesting. It's not looking great. It's not horrible, but it's not great either. It's going to be fading out like this in different pages. Perhaps the color could be improved, but or maybe it could be made a bit thicker. Once again, I'm just going to go ahead and make it like red, just so it's so very obvious right now. We're going to see it very easily. You probably don't want to make it red like this in your own interface. Perhaps even a blue or something like that could be a bit better. Just to show you can customize these things. And I made it with just an outline, but you can also make it with anything else really. Before attribute, anything that just adds a visual element to the page. Box shadow, borders, whatever. The next thing I'm gonna go here is take this. This has pointer events, none, opacity 0. I'm gonna go ahead and say this right here. When it's focus within, and that's not the best fix possible because you're still gonna have like the users navigate through the entire dropdown every time. So ideally you want to make these non-targetable unless the navigation, like the product tab has been opened. But as a quick fix, you could go ahead and do focus within, opacity 1, pointer events, default or normal, or let's go ahead and do auto. So this way, at least when I navigate, I can actually see what it is I'm doing. But yeah, ideally you want to go ahead and have product here, that when you click it, it opens the navigation, the tab here, or the drop down, and then you can actually see and navigate through these elements. But right now, actually, I'm pressing enter on the product and it's not doing anything. There's no like navigation, keyboard navigation possible at all on this website. So yeah, you really want to go ahead and fix these keyboard navigation issues as soon as you can. Let's go ahead and dive into the recommendations. This is a JavaScript generated website. There's no server-side rendering, no static website available. So it's only going to have the homepage scanned right now, but we can still see a few issues and things we can actually go ahead and fix. So let's take a look at this. Add an alt attribute to all your images to describe their content. It's going to go ahead and describe these images that have no alt attribute. We've looked over this before, but it would usually scan every page or every important page to see if there's alt attributes on every image. And in this case, you could go ahead and check out these different images, see whether or not they should have an alt description or have just an empty alt description to describe that they're decorative. Same thing we've just done in the checklist. Reduce unused JavaScript. There seems to be a lot of unused JavaScript here. A bit of weight potential here. It could be saved. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about these things. There's not much for me to say. Perhaps intercom here. This is the chat here in the bottom. It's pretty heavy and most people are not going to use it. So you could perhaps do something to improve on that. But once again, this is getting pretty much, you're getting into the weeds when you start checking out every single thing here. But if you know your website and you know your dependencies, you know how your users are going to navigate, you can go ahead and dive into these things and optimize everything really well. So you could probably save like 100K right here on every page load by doing some optimizations. Preconnect to required origins. This is just adding a few preconnect meta tag or a link tag, and it's going to help the browser like start loading these origins and these different websites and resources much faster. So for Google fonts, these are the two classic ones. Google Tag Manager here And Clearbit, I don't know what it is, but it's probably some kind of analytics tool, I would guess. Yeah, data activation platform. So all of these should probably be pre-connected to speed up the connection if you know that they're going to be loaded on every page anyway. Next up, HTML element doesn't have a lang attribute. That's an interesting one. It should probably say, if there's only one version of the page, it's not as bad. But still, you could go ahead and say this is lang equals en or something like that, or perhaps enca or enus, depending on where your audience is targeted. Once again, you could open this and see the different pages where this is happening, get more information on where and why you should do this. Links do not have a discernible name. That's a pretty important one. Let's see what this is. I believe this is the header's logo. Oh, and Y Combinator as well. I could go ahead and check out the selector to find it, but I'm pretty sure this is an image. Yep, this is an SVG right here. So if I take a look at this, there's a link here with no text at all. It has an image, sure, but if I'm using a screen reader, I have no idea what this link is pointing to because there's no text. The right convention for home links like this is to actually have a description or a title or an alt description that says home or homepage. Some people have the name of the company, seeing as this is like what it says here. But most screen readers users and accessibility tool users often look for the keyword or the link home. So it could be a nice idea to have an alt description or a title or something that says this is homepage link. And same thing for the Y Combinator here. Once again, this is an SVG backed by Y Combinator, but it doesn't say, like, there's no text on it. If you take a look at the accessibility view, this is just an empty link with an image. We have no idea what this is pointing for if we can't actually see the image, or if the image isn't loaded, or the browser doesn't support SVGs correctly or something. I don't know. Either way, I don't know if I could break this SVG somehow, but let's say there was an issue there. Well, it's not super clear still, but you get what I'm saying. You should add a title, an alt description, an ARIA label, something to describe these items and these links and these images. Otherwise, there's no context for people who are going to click on it. List items are not contained within UL or OL parent elements. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Where is this? Right here. Some sample use cases, startups. Oh, this is the entire section right here that I've already been complaining about. Let's put this on a side here. All of these are LE items, but they're within a div. Perhaps this should instead be a UL, or an OL, depending on whether the list is organized or not. In this case, I think it's an OL. It's a UL, it's an unorganized list. There's no specific order. It's just different elements. And the H2 should probably be outside of it, I believe, like this. Oh wait, that's interesting, actually. I think they actually did a good job here, because within this one, there's a UL with every single section. But this LE right here is outside of it. I think it should go inside. So that's the only issue. Everything is good, except for this one. For some reason, startups is outside of this UL here. So yeah, that's how you want to go ahead and fix it. That's an easy fix, folks. The rest is pretty, like, it's not as important, but let's go through it anyway, just to see what you could do to improve. We're going to go through these really quickly. Add an OG image meta tag to your page. We've talked about this before. this is not detected correctly because it's not using the right attribute. It's using the name attribute instead of the property attribute. Add a valid Twitter card meta tag. This is just going to help your website look good when it's shared on Twitter. Otherwise, it's just going to appear as a random link. If you have a Twitter card mention, you can actually like test it out in the card navigator and have it look a little bit like this, where you have your image, your text, and everything, so you can define how it's going to look like. Update your CSS to fix distorted images. The object fit property might be usable as well. Accept all payments. That's interesting. So apparently on some devices, the accept payments icon here is distorted. Let's just go ahead and try it out on the mobile view right here. Let's see. It's not super visible that it's distorted, to be honest. Perhaps on different devices it is. And I don't see why it would be distorted, to be honest. Oh, here. Width 32 pixels, height 36. Interesting. So it could be something to look into. Either way, it's not a big deal. For an icon like this, it's probably not going to be noticeable. Fix capitalization issues in your website's content. Oh, here I can see where this is from because we've seen this before. It's the alt description for the image here, or no, for this one. It's not capitalized, so it feels weird for the user. In this case, it's probably going to be red, so it's not a big deal, but it could be capitalized still. And then connect with the tools you already use. It's probably the same thing. Just a minor text capitalization issue. Move inline styles to CSS files. Apparently there's a lot of inline styles, but yeah, these are background images. Although they're background images that are base64 encoded. So in this case, you could absolutely make it better by just putting it into just using a regular image, and you could probably they're all the same, right? Just want to see like a few of them. They're all the exact same, so you could probably go ahead and just put this within a style, a CSS file, and use an actual image instead of a base64 encoded SVG, because base64 encoded content is usually longer by, I don't know, I think it's 10 to 15% or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's always a bit bigger than the source content. So there's a few things here where you could use just regular CSS files instead of putting it inline. And that's just going to reduce a bit of loading times here and there, but it's nothing major. Once again, like 0.05% of your page size. It's not a big deal, but it's good. It's just good practice. Reducing the length of your OG description for better cross-platform visibility. Once again, it's not an essential. It's just a potential optimization you might want to look into. Add a Twitter image. Adding an OG image would be fine here. Twitter is going to use the OG image when Twitter image is not specified. Images do not have alt attributes. It's another element we've looked at before. It's probably just a different listing with more explanation and more details for each image. Update your CSS to make sure your text always has at least 12 pixels or more. So on iPad, apparently, there's some text that is under 12 pixels big. So might be hard to read. And then user scalable no is used in the meta viewport. Disabling zooming is problematic for users with low vision. That's the first time I've actually seen this on Koalati, so that's cool. Disabling user scaling and zooming and stuff like that is a big issue, so that's a no-no. Just let people zoom as much as they want. So that's pretty much it for today, folks. We've seen a lot of cool things. The website is really good looking. Congratulations to Beau, the team at Beau, for their Beau 2.0 launch. Website's looking good. Yeah, there's a few minor issues here and there. And yeah, that's just what I had for today, folks. If you're interested in using Koalati or trying out the checklist, you can go ahead and check out koalati.com. There is a free demo of the checklist on the checklist page right here. So you can just try the demo here. It's free. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to do anything. You can just try the free demo here. And yeah, that's it for today. Have a great day, folks. Hope you enjoyed.